Welcome to Real Crime Vault. If you wish to see our subsequent video updates, kindly hit the subscribe button. Thank you as you do that. Amarjith Chauhan was a self-made man. He built a successful freight company, Siba Freight, from the ground up, and by 2003, his business was worth an estimated £5 million. He had everything to live for: a thriving business, a beautiful young wife, Nancy, and two adorable baby sons, 18-month-old Devinder and 2-month-old Ravinder. Nancy's mother, Chiranjit Kaur, also lived with the family in their comfortable home in Hounslow, West London. They were a close-knit, happy family with a bright future. But that future was about to be stolen from them in the most brutal way imaginable. On February 16, 2003, the entire family vanished without a trace. It was as if they had simply evaporated. Concerned relatives found the house eerily empty. A half-eaten meal was still on the table, and the family's passports and belongings were untouched. It was clear they hadn't planned to go anywhere. This was the beginning of a mystery that would horrify the nation and unravel a sinister plot of greed, drugs, and murder. The initial police investigation was slow and frustrating. Theories swirled. Had the family fled the country to avoid taxes? Had a business deal gone wrong, forcing them into hiding? These suggestions were deeply hurtful to their relatives, particularly Nancy's family in New Zealand. They knew Nancy and Amarjith. They knew they would never abandon their children or run away from their responsibilities. They were convinced something terrible had happened. Their persistent pleas for a more thorough investigation were crucial in pushing the police to dig deeper. As detectives began to look closer at Siba Freight, a new and alarming picture started to emerge. They discovered that just days after the family disappeared, control of the company had been transferred to a man named Kenneth Reagan. Who was this man? Reagan was a known criminal with a history of drug trafficking. In criminal circles, he was known as Captain Cash, a name he earned for his lavish lifestyle funded by illegal activities. He had a reputation for being ruthless and dangerous. The police now had a prime suspect. The investigation shifted focus to Reagan and his associates, a small-time crook named Bill Hornsey and a career criminal named Peter Rees. The theory was simple and chilling. Reagan wanted Siba Freight, not for its legitimate business, but as a front for his own drug smuggling operations. A successful freight company with established routes and import-export licenses was the perfect cover, and Amarjith Chauhan was standing in his way. The detectives believed that Reagan and his accomplices lured Amarjith to a meeting, likely under the pretense of a business deal. What happened next was a carefully planned act of extreme violence. They held Amarjith captive for several days at Reagan's home in Wiltshire, forcing him to sign over his company. Once they had what they wanted, they murdered him. But their horrific crime didn't end there. To eliminate any witnesses and ensure their takeover of the company went smoothly, they had to get rid of the rest of the family. The gang went to the Chauhan family home, where they confronted Nancy, her mother, and the two infant boys. The sheer evil of what they did next is almost unimaginable. They murdered all of them. Nancy, a young mother, Chiranjit, a loving grandmother, and two innocent babies, Devinder and Ravinder. The killers then went to great lengths to cover their tracks, hoping the family's disappearance would be dismissed as just another unsolved missing persons case. But their plan began to unravel. On April 19, 2003, 2 months after the family vanished, a body was found floating in the sea near Bournemouth Pier. It was Amarjith Chauhan. He had been buried at sea, but the ocean had given up its dead. His discovery confirmed the family's worst fears and turned a missing persons inquiry into a full-blown murder investigation. The search for the rest of the family intensified. A few months later, in July, the body of Nancy Chauhan was found in the same area. Then, in September, the remains of her mother, Chiranjit Kaur, were recovered from the waters off the Isle of Wight. The 3 adults had been found, but the most heartbreaking part of this tragedy was yet to come. The bodies of the 2 little boys, Devinder and Ravinder, were never found. It is believed they were also dumped at sea, their tiny bodies lost to the waves forever. The thought of their final moments is a truly devastating and haunting aspect of this case. With the bodies discovered, the evidence against Reagan and his crew was mounting. The forged documents transferring ownership of Ciba Freight were a key piece of the puzzle. Forensic evidence found at Reagan's home linked him directly to the crime. Police had also gathered testimony from witnesses who had seen Chauhan with Reagan around the time of his disappearance. The net was closing in. In 2005, Kenneth Reagan, Bill Hornsey, and Peter Rees stood trial for the murders of the Chauhan family. The prosecution laid out the case, detailing the cold, calculated plot to steal a man's business and eradicate his entire family to cover their tracks. They painted a picture of pure greed and a complete disregard for human life. The jury listened to the harrowing details of how the family was held captive and systematically murdered. The defense tried to argue that Amarjit Chauhan was involved in criminal activity himself, and that his death was the result of a deal gone wrong with other, unknown parties. They portrayed Reagan as a victim, duped into taking over the company. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury saw through the lies. After a lengthy trial, all 3 men were found guilty. Kenneth Reagan was convicted of murdering all 5 members of the Chauhan family and was given a whole life sentence, meaning he will die in prison. His accomplices, Bill Hornsey and Peter Rees, were also convicted of murder and received life sentences. Justice had been served, but it could never bring back the family that was lost. This case stands as a horrifying example of human depravity. It's a story about a successful man and his loving family who were targeted by ruthless criminals who saw them not as people, but as obstacles to be removed. The determination of Nancy's family in New Zealand was instrumental in ensuring the truth came out. Their refusal to accept the initial theories and their relentless pressure on the authorities played a vital role in bringing the killers to justice. The murder of the Chauhan family is a stark reminder of the darkness that can exist in the world. A family's dreams were shattered, and 2 little boys were robbed of their lives before they had even begun. While the killers are behind bars, the pain and loss for their relatives will never fade. The memory of Amarjit, Nancy, Chiranjit, Devinder, and Ravinder serves as a tragic legacy of a crime driven by nothing more than pure, unadulterated greed. Thank you for watching Real Crime Vault. We hope to see you in the next video. Please subscribe for more updates.